Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to so many project management professionals who are interested in sustainability. So let's get started. Sustainable strategy is a business model that focuses on creating long-term financial value while preserving natural and social capital. And increasingly, leadership, C-suite, is adopting sustainable strategy in order to mitigate global challenges and maximize opportunities. They're being driven by regulatory compliance, stakeholder demand, competition, and just in pursuit of better options and solutions. However, there is a gap that exists between the C-suite vision of sustainability and benefit realization, because the process of integrating sustainability into an organization's people, processes, and policies is very challenging. And what we're going to talk about today is the role for project management professionals in driving that change to help organizations unlock and realize the value creation potential of sustainable strategy. So these are some of the learning objectives. I hope to discuss with you what's going on in the world, why things have changed, what's driving some of this initiative to adopt sustainable strategy, what in fact is sustainable strategy, what the journey is, how do you become a sustainable organization, some of the barriers that impede the progress, and what's the role for a project management professional, what are some of the best practices, and how do we create a roadmap for success. A bit of a tickle in my throat. Start with some of the macro trends that are facing businesses around the world. They're dealing with issues like natural resource scarcity. There's a lot of volatility in commodity markets. I'm sure you've read about what's been happening in the South China Sea, where China has done some land grabs really around resource control. There are issues about global connectivity. Areas of the world that don't have global connectivity, the digital divide, as well as the access and 24/7 exposure that companies have to deal with, so that if something does happen, there's no longer a lockdown mechanism. Things are transmitted sometimes within hours of an event happening. So that's another challenge that the C-suite is dealing with. Climate change, natural disasters, storm damage, loss of habitat and biodiversity. Some of you may be familiar with COP21, the Paris Accord that was just concluded at the end of 2015. That's basically a commitment of countries around the world to accept their portion and their share of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and to report on that back to this collective body. And that comes with a fair share concept that is allocated to various industries within different countries. So all of those kinds of things are creating new challenges for management. Demographic changes. We have a lot of growth in developing countries, and we have declining population growth in developed countries. There's growing middle class in developing countries, which means that they want a better standard of living. They want products. They want resources. But that means their share of resources allocated around the world is going to increase. And currently, we're already using about 1.5 times what the world has to offer. So there needs to be a reallocation of resources and a redistribution around the world. And then, of course, stakeholder requirements. Investors are increasingly seeking information on organizations' environmental, social, and governance policies. Customers are demanding information. It's a hot button for the millennial workforce, and it goes on and on. So these are trends that are impacting businesses and organizations, not just businesses, cities, and other government agencies around the world. So what do I mean by sustainable strategy? What I'm talking about is adopting a business model that creates financial value but also protects natural and social capital. And this is often expressed in terms of meeting today's needs while preserving resources for future needs. This is a concept of legacy. What world are we leaving to our children and to our children's children? Are we using their inheritance? Are we leaving them a better place or a place that they really need to struggle to survive? There's a recent publication out about the impact on climate change on children. And, they're a vulnerable group. And it's basically seen that in 50 years, children are going to have a much harder time surviving in the environment that we are leaving them. And it's something we really seriously need to consider. Sustainable strategy is also often termed in terms of a triple bottom line lens: people, planet, and profit. Some of the definitions, and I just wanted to give you a little background of what I'm talking about when I discuss sustainable strategy. Is often depicted in this type of graphic with social, environmental, economic factors. And the goal under sustainable strategy is to find the sweet spot, or the area that considers all of these, not just one or the other, not just two, trying to come up with a solution that delivers all three, because a business is not sustainable unless they generate economic profit. So it has to be a solution that addresses all three issues. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about value. This is an iceberg, and I'm sure you're all aware with an iceberg, there's a small portion you see above the waterline, and there's often a very large portion below the line. And I like to think about value in this way because an organization is made up of both their tangible and intangible assets. And increasingly, organizations are valued more on their intangible assets than their tangible assets. So sustainable strategy is about understanding what are some of the intangibles that can impact an organization's value. If you've been following the VW story, they just were given a fine of $14.7 billion for settlement with the U.S. government. And if you look at that organization and you looked at the traditional way of valuing it, looking at their financial statements, what was reported on, they looked like a very healthy organization. They had reached record sales goals. But the intangible had to do with their governance policy, and it was broken. They had a problem with their governance policy, and that has ended up costing them so much more than the tangible assets and the financial statements could have ever predicted. So understanding the risks that fall outside of a regular financial valuation, understanding climate change risk, ethical risks, things like that really do impact organizations, how you're interacting with your unions, how you're interacting with your local communities, your right to operate. These are all things that relate to intangible value of organizations. Strategy create value. It helps you address challenges through resource preservation, energy efficiency, cost savings, improved productivity, employee engagement. It also provides an opportunity to offer new services, to enter new markets, to innovate, to attract better talent. It attracts investors who are concerned about your risk management, higher ROE, your license to operate. And it also provides benefit through your relationships with external stakeholders and your transparency of reporting. That's on the value created by highly sustainable firms. That's what this list is. I think it's